Session 4 of 4, last part of October. Look at all those numbers. All right. It's like a mentat from Dune. Anyway, so we're on Legacy Life Among the Ruins, which is a game that moves through several different levels. It is written by James Ellis. He is currently working and revising it. He's done some more playtesting of it. It was a successful Kickstarter. James has watched these and I'm sure wept at the way they've executed his system, but fair enough. There we go. I do enjoy this game. I love the idea of different levels and scales and things like that. Last time we did the Turning of the Age, which moved things forward a little bit. More things developed, rolled out. We had a character replaced in that with a very different character and some evolutions of the different families. And we're going to continue on from that. There was some more developing information about some of the threats that were out there. There was an entire family, a non-player family that was ground under the boot heel of one of the players' families. Essentially, the forces of law and justice in the realm were destroyed by the tyrants. So that's the thing that happened. So that's what we're gonna take up tonight, is following up on that. So I am going to start. Sherry, I put you at the last of the queue, the last couple sessions. So this time I'm going to start you at the front of the queue. Okay, start you at the front of the line. So you are a member. You are Jane Doe. You are a member of the Does, the family devoted to your faith. We've already talked about that a little. You helped talk down the tyrants from particularly attacking you, the Hell Swords, from attacking you last time. There was some weird things that had gone on there. And there were other discoveries that were made. We've got the issue with the Malays that has expanded. We've got the fact that the Skyne has emerged from the Marrowlands. The Deathless Legion has kind of settled in. We've still got the various horrors and the different. This thing that perhaps the lawgivers were holding back. It's not sure. Something has been released. So what do you think you want as your agenda tonight? What is it that you are going to be moving on? The cat got in.
Yeah, well, you've got one, I've got the other one. So let's see here. I think that essentially the different sounds like kind of my call to action. And
okay,
to the extent that they are a threat. Of course, the Malays, the sad fog, that that is also that I might be something that I can help with. So of course I'm torn. We'll see.
And you've got your trade routes established, so that's an important thing that you have on the table that you wanted to do and that you've built up. Let's look real quickly at your family's surpluses. You have a surplus of recruits and medicine, and you have needs of idleness and essentially fulfilling for the idle and land, right? So those are the two things that are out there. So your mood is a zero, net zero right now. Okay. Christo, can I come to you next?
Sure.
Okay. So we've got Spider. He made some plans last time. He put some plots into action. He got some people to aid him, and he helped some other people. Right now, you've got a kind of a tight situation. You've got luxuries, surplus, prestige, and spies as surplus, but you also need barter goods, culture, recruit, and medicine. So you're a little on the negative side there. So tell me what, given all of these threats and things that are out there, what the Fool's Mirror's agenda is. Or even your personal agenda. You, as the player, what is it you want to have happen tonight?
Well, I think the Spider's going to be very concerned about the blissless miasma, because since he was investigating it previously, his people became more susceptible to it because we uncovered that it was a mimetic phrase that was infectious, right?
Yes.
So I think he's going to want to unravel that because, of course, as traveling minstrels and theatrical people, they can probably use that to their advantage.
Excellent. All right. So that puts an interesting spin on there. And then, Maria, let's talk to the Hellswords, our tyrant kings. They're at a net zero right now with leadership and weaponry and the needs of idol and scouts. And so given the crushing that you did last time, what's your next goal here?
Dealing with the different top priority. I, as a player, would like to deal with wonders, but I'm not sure if we'll get to that. So
yeah, well, so I looked at that. We can certainly start how I would imagine the process would work when we come around to your turn, which would be marking off a surplus, putting that out there as a thing that other people have to worry about. Now, and we can walk through how I would do that when we come around to you, if that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Stephen, let me ask you what the burn, the Enclave of Forgotten Lore, what is your agenda this session?
So I think it's to help investigate the miasma that we have. We started to do so before, and I think we discovered that some of the biotech creatures that I had understood that it kind of needed a spoken language kind of thing.
Yes.
So I think that they could help out there. As I recall, they had also been separated from society for a while.
And you set up some trade networks.
That's right, to kind of join back together.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll take a look at those two issues when we come back around. I'm going to very quickly take 20 seconds to shut this door so the cat does not come back in here and bother me. I'll be right back. And that's how I left Sherry to deal with the cats. So, speaking of which, let us start with you, Doe. What do you want to do on this first? We're kind of doing that thing where we come around. Time has passed. It's probably a couple of weeks. Your trade caravans have gone out. You've heard information about these different. You know that the lawgivers have been destroyed. They're very scattered pieces, blown to the four winds. Still unclear what the different are entirely, but they are out there. They're not the wrong. The wrong are the ones that have that sort of psychic nature to them. The different are something else. So what would you like to do? What is the sort of the family operation that you'd like to undertake?
Well, let's see here. I know that the Malais does work so even we can't heal them, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Yikes. If it's a mimetic thing, then if there's a way, because it's a lie, if there's a way that we can discover some part of the nature of the lie and inoculate people against it with the word, with the truth, that would be the approach that I would try.
That's interesting. So it sounds to me like you want to uncover a secret.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a data to spend?
You know, I think I do.
Okay.
Of course, I have to guess. Let's see which page it's on. I am very sorry about this cat. She's had the worst day ever of sitting on the couch all day. So, okay. So my family has, holy smokes. I have 2 intel, and it says I get 1 data per point when I use research.
And
I thought
right
we had
now you
been-
have 2 data. It's under your stats, actually.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry.
This is a note I will make for myself. If I were going to do this sheet again, I would mark out those resource spends in a different way, because right now they just look like regular stats, and I shouldn't have done it that way.
It's okay. So now that I have discovered this, I will use that data in any way that I can.
Okay, so what you can do is they have uncover secrets. You can add a new resource currently untapped, like a powder keg ready to explode, a place to shelter from harm. And I'm reading those as sort of general kinds of things. So what would be the thing that you would use the data to find or uncover that we could mark somewhere built around this?
Okay, so the data that I want to find. Okay, so you want me to describe what it is that I find? I think, yeah. So I think one of the things is that once we understand the nature that it can only be communicated through words and things like that, we will, how do you say, we will mute some of those among our people who have gotten the malaise so that they can't speak.
Okay.
And then we will question them until we essentially understand, essentially where they deviate from the truth. Does that make any sense?
Okay.
Essentially it's a sort of thing. It's an inquisition, the gentlest of inquisitions, but still they're under a certain amount of duress. Since we've silenced them, and I assume that there's something that pushes them to communicate. So
why don't you mark on the map essentially like a center that you've established for doing that kind of questioning and transformation?
Okay.
Do you think that you're able to fix the problem?
I think that we can inoculate people so that they can go in for a time and into the mountains or into whatever to find out like where it began and find the source of the lie. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Here's what I'm going to say. You mark that on the map, you spend the data, and I'm actually going to have you roll hold together.
All right.
And that will represent your family kind of going through this tempering process to find and discover a cure. And if you succeed, we will say that you have a means of avoiding it. Okay.
So I'm going to choose 2d6. I'm going to not choose the pips. And I am not sure
that's all fixed.
I'm not sure what I add to it for hold together.
You're going to roll your mood.
My mood is 0. So
okay, you can, after the roll is done, you can spend tech to boost that up.
Okay,
sorry, to get advantage. Sorry, not to boost up, to get advantage.
Oh, I can. Oh, and then roll another die is essentially it.
Yeah.
But you said afterwards.
Yes, I believe you can spend that afterwards.
All right. So I have an 8.
Okay. So on a hit, you remain okay. But you have to pick one of the things. You lose people to harm and or desertion. You need recruits. Another family or faction comes through to help you. Give them 1 treaty on you. Danger hasn't passed so much as it's shifted into a more manageable problem. You can say what that is. You can spend tech if you want to see if you can roll a 5 or a 6. Maybe get that to a 10+, in which case you wouldn't have to worry about that. And you'd get a surplus.
Oh, a surplus.
Of morale.
Okay. I will give that a try.
Oh, yes. Please spend those resources.
Okay, I will then. So apparently I still did pips even though I didn't want to. So I do not understand how this thing goes. I'm going to add another.
One more die.
One more die. Ah, 5. So I get two 5s. I got a 10 total.
So you actually are brought together by this. You still have to. It looks like this is instead of that. Oh, in addition to the buff results. So you get surplus morale.
Okay.
You get to add that to your sheet, and then you have to pick one of those hold together options.
All right. Let's see here then.
So take a look at that, and then tell me what that looks like.
Okay. I'm just always trying to find, it's the ref sheet, right?
Family moves.
Yeah, hold together. But I have to pick one of them?
Yep.
I think that I'll have to have another family come through to help us and give them a 1 treaty on us.
And which family is that?
Seems to make sense. That's a good question. I mean, let's see here.
I think I might be able to help you.
You want to help me?
I think we might be able to, because the issue seems to be with language, and our dancers are masters of speaking without language.
Well, that's true. But the Burn are pretty clever at these sorts of things too. I mean, let's see here. Because, you got to play a little hardball.
The Burn have done some looking into the situation as well.
Yes. Let's see here. Wow. I don't know. Sure, we'll do Fool's Mirror. They're problematic, but they're nice for the rituals, right? Do you still dance?
Oh, definitely.
All
Definitely.
right.
I had collected all these images of these really grotesque dolls and stuff like that.
So
well,
they
apparently
help you.
They're good for our morale.
What is the key to breaking this mimetic spread?
I think
now
that
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Is this a cure for those who are infected, or is it a means of inoculating people from becoming infected?
It's a means of inoculating.
Okay.
Which is inherently what faith is. And so essentially what it is is that it turns out that it is sort of a very a set of formal ritual and almost obsessive compulsive rituals that everyone kind of does. Little things. They're like like the sign of the dough and all of those things, but and essentially dawn rituals and sunsetting. But it's that whole sort of that there's a very just to kind of break whatever pattern it is that this malaise, I can't say the word, the malaise sets in and tries to.
All right. So that sounds great.
Darling, when you start having problems speaking, that's the malaise beginning.
Oh, shush you.
So is this knowledge that you plan on holding, or are you planning on giving this knowledge to the other families?
Oh, the door always very generous with our means.
Okay.
So we will spread the word.
Does that mean you're going to change us all into Johns and Janes?
No, that's spreading more than the word, but that's allowing you into the faith. Okay.
So you're now at a mood +1. Let's come to our Fool's Mirror. Fool's Mirror. Some of the threat has been abated. Though you did have a number of people become ill, so they're still not cured. But the illness seems to have at least been stopped in its tracks. But you have other things, delightful things to consider and worry about now that you have more information on how this mimetic plague works. What would you like to do?
I have more important things than that. I'm weakened. I'm sick. I need to make sure that I get this. What would I like to do? I want to use this as an opportunity, since we're using, did we say that the Fool's Mirror is actually helping with this, right?
Yep, you established that. You agreed to that.
Okay.
So
then I want to do something beautiful and wondrous. I want to do a show with our dancers to display both our gratitude for the help that the dough is giving us, as well as to show the beauty that is still in the world despite all the troubles that we have.
And what is your intention with that? I know that's the action. What is your intention?
Well, one of them is I'm going to get a treaty for it. That's one of my family. I don't know if you call them moves or what, but that's one of the things. And I figure it'd be good to get another treaty on the doughs.
Okay.
Let's see, it says character of the mirrors. Yeah, I'm in the right place. Yeah, when you perform a display of beauty or wonder, gain one treaty on the faction or family you performed for. So that was one thing, but this is also just to get us, keep good relations with them, keep us ingrained, try and spread the network, try and get more information about what the doughs are researching and what they have, because maybe the doughs are keeping something from us.
That's interesting. So this sounds like, gosh, I wish there was
an index of moves. What?
No, there's a thing that is mentioned somewhere about research.
Yes, that's on the same page. Oh, and I like that also because that gets me data. Wow. Yeah, I'm looking. Where is it? It's on the same page I want to say as gear and machines.
Okay. There it is. What a weird. Sorry, that's not where I would have put that. All right. Once per session, you can reveal a secret or a faction or character. You say what it is, and the GM can add detail if they like. Add 1 pane of data per point of intel to the family's pool.
So is that me spending intel or spending data? That's what I'm confused on a little bit.
Per point of intel. Let's
sounds like
quickly.
If I'm learning it, does that mean am I learning data or am I learning intel? I get. Oh,
what is your intel score?
It's 2, but on my sheet it says get 1 data per point when you use research. So I guess I spend intel to get data.
Intel isn't a spendable.
Oh.
I don't think. Let me check that real quick. This is a good
Intel
question.
was removed for the new version, I think, because it's one of the extra resources that for gear, and everyone was complaining about how that complicated things. So
now it's even more complicated because I've got 2 different systems to go through. Okay, hang on 1 second, Crystal. Let me find this because I actually want to know this. So.
Okay, I found gear in the new one. Vehicles and outfit. Does it talk to research at all? I guess I do.
When your family draws on research and spends a point of data. No, that's a character move. Let's find if I can find the research move.
Maybe it's no longer a research move. Come on, Maria.
Yeah, no, it's both in caps and not caps here in this thing. Tell you what,
the text, but there doesn't seem to be a move.
Let's do it this way. Let's since we were going from the earlier version, it seems to me that the original thing seemed to say that once per session, you can reveal a secret, and then you can get data because of that. For purpose of this, let's say you reveal a secret, and I'll give you a point of data.
Okay.
Okay, but you have to give me a secret. What's a secret about one of the factions, either one of the PC factions or one of the NPC factions that you want to discover or reveal?
So can I say a secret about another player faction?
That's what it looks like you can do. I can add a detail if I like. I assume it still holds to the same player negotiation on that.
Yeah, no, I was definitely going to run it by. I was just trying to think what comes to mind. So revealing a secret. Do the Burns nanobots or nano drones, do they interact with the miasma in any way? Have we determined that?
We determined that they were actually kind of immune. They were the ones that were able to go out and see the infected and not get infected themselves, which led us to believe that it was language dependent.
Okay, that's not what I want then. And how does the...
You can modify that in any way you want.
No, I don't think that really works in it. And we know this came down from the mountains, and in the mountains we have technological basis of some sort or other. How about this? Since the Burn are so into technology, maybe the Burn know where the origin of the miasma is. That they know it's up in the mountains. Did we define that there was a vault of some sort in the mountains?
We defined a couple of vaults. There's the menagerie. There's the inoculation. So is that something, or that's something
No,
that's
the
just
inoculations
added?
is what I just added. That was the site
Okay.
of. So
I don't think we've the university is a place. And wasn't there actually a thing underneath the menagerie? That's the vault I think you're thinking of, is that the Burn established that they had found some vaults underneath the menagerie, and that's where they had holed up to do their research.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to say that they know where the origin of the miasma is in the mountains, that there's another vault up there or another laboratory.
Okay. Does that seem cool?
And that gives you data?
That gives him a point of data.
But is that data pointed towards me?
Nope, it's generic. He gets to use it as he wishes later, but
because treaty is pointed towards a family, but data is not.
Right.
So that also gets me. So did we say that I did a wondrous dance?
Yes.
Okay. So then I get a treaty on the dough.
quite truthfully, all of your dances are wondrous.
I'll find the I'll share the Pinterest board with you also, so you can see what I was collecting, and then we'll see if you still think it's definitely wondrous.
I did go and look at it.
All right. So let me come to the Hell Swords.
All right.
Let's talk with you. Looking at the. Do you want to talk about the wonders right now, or do you want to look at some of the threats on the table?
I'll look at the different, since that's the immediate threat for my family, since we were just there. Oh, and the lawgivers were holding them back. What are they?
You want to head there and check
we're
that.
Already there, kind of. So
yeah, but you want to. I mean, you want to send people further on, right?
Yeah.
Do you have scouts, or do you have a need for scouts?
I have a need for scouts.
Okay. Then I think this is actually going to require you to hold together.
All right. My mood is 0. And I will. All right. It's an 8.
Okay. So that's a hit.
I will spend 1 tech to risk it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then 1/6 submit. No, that's another 3.
Okay. So what do you want as the sort of consequence here, and then we'll talk about what you can get from this.
It's not a thing of danger. It's
Well, it's the fact that you are sending people into this area to kind of find out what's going on, and since you have a need for scouts, it means putting yourself in more danger.
all right. I guess I need recruits now as well.
Okay. So I'm going to let you have first option to tell me something about the different. We haven't established any facts except that the lawgivers were holding them back somehow, and they are a significant danger here. So tell me one thing about the different. Imagine them as human, animal.
No.
Okay.
No, it's something alien.
Alien. Okay.
Like I said, they're different. So, or like established rather.
Okay. And so what do they look like?
Metal.
Okay.
Which in this case, it's completely out of the ordinary because we're all into bio stuff. So.
Big, small?
Big.
Okay.
Metal giants, basically.
Okay. So let me add to that and see what you think. I think that they are enormous metal beetles. That kind of metal that is iridescent. They're still organic because they're insects, but clearly something in their body, they're able to metabolize the soil and the metals and like form that into their exoskeleton. But they are steel-hided and so on, and they make these horrible sort of screeching noises, and they clearly sense movement. And when some of your scouts get forward in that and have to kind of start to pull back, that's when it gets them alert, and they fly. Those big metal wings will vibrate like beetle wings do, and that in itself is piercing to the eardrums, and these things land and pounce on some of your scouts there. And they clearly, the lawgivers had some sort of system for keeping them held back, but they are moving across the river now. And any place they are where there's sort of rich mineral veins, these things are starting to dig in, to bore and eat. And they're pushing their way over. How does that sound?
All right, cool.
Okay. Gives you a worthy foe for the Hell Swords.
Yeah.
So let's cut to the Enclave to burn. Some things have been learned. I assume that you have been receptive to the passing on of this inoculation.
Yeah, and I think that the Enclave itself has become fascinated with, because this is a different kind of disease than we're used to. This is a very interesting thing. So
Okay.
I think the Enclave would like to work with the Doe, who originally discovered this inoculation, to see if they can find a cure. And I think the way I'd like to do this is by calling in a debt.
Okay.
I think I'd like to basically the Enclave will work with the doe to assimilate some of their medical knowledge, to see if they could better understand what's necessary to do this fix. So I think what they would do in this case is spend a treaty in order to take the surplus medicine.
Now, doe has an opportunity. They can resist this by spending a treaty on you, or rolling holding together if they don't have a treaty on you. So what's your reaction to that, doe?
Actually, before we go any further,
Sure.
does that story narratively and mechanically make sense, that I could use that move to make a cure?
The other thing you could do is, in the way that we had Sherry roll for us doing the cure, we could have you roll hold together, and you could ask her to lend aid, and then she would roll her treaty with you to give you advantage. That's a softer option for that.
Softer as in not attacking the doe?
Yeah, as in you're not going to take one of their surpluses to do that.
So I think that's probably a better path. I was kind of leaning towards, exchanging treaty or dealing with treaty, because it seemed like interaction of family. But
It's still you spending a treaty to get them to back you up.
Yeah. Okay, I see.
Okay, and it means that potentially they are at risk if this goes terribly wrong.
Okay.
So would the doe honor that treaty or resist it?
We are so newly into our trade negotiations that we've worked on together, and this inoculation that's critical for all of us in that sort of northern area, that I think that a significant portion of the doe would definitely be like, yes, we have to lend aid. It's our obligation.
Okay. So in that case, the Enclave spends a treaty. And then how much treaty do you have with the Enclave, doe?
2.
Okay, so you need to roll with +2. And this is just like your standard aid action with that. You're muted.
I get a 13 total. You always want to work with the doe. They are the best helpers ever.
So they will give you advantage. They lend you their medical and practical knowledge to this, and you're working on this to develop a cure to turn back. This is more difficult because the mimetic stuff is already in people's minds. You're trying to purge that out so they will once again actually be hungry. So let's have you roll hold together. You get 3 dice plus your mood.
Okay. I rolled max. The max of 2 dice is 6. My mood is a -2. That makes it a 4.
That makes it a 4.
Is there a way to get? Can I spend tech to get advantage again?
I don't think so. I think you can only get advantage once.
That's right. Okay.
So what goes wrong here? How does this go? What is it that you exactly screw up here?
So the question I have is, so I don't have a choice from the list, right? This is just how badly does it go? Okay.
Right.
So I think what happens is, a cure is found. However, the person who made the cure, has basically regressed to the point where they are nonverbal. So that's why this person was infected, and they discovered the cure, and basically by mixing the biotech nanite things with the medicine of the doe, but basically they're back to eating, and whenever people came and said, hey, you're eating again, they start babbling like a child.
Here is the other thing that happens. one of the things that your people has been running into is you've been dealing and have encountered the other. And it is at some point during this when you're trying to work with the cure for these people that are infected with the malaise, that
The wrong, you mean?
sorry, the wrong.
There's the
For
wrong
the
and
north.
there's
so
different.
many of these things.
The
The
wrong,
wrong,
different.
different.
Oh God,
Other.
the other. Oh no, we're really.
The other.
We need to name these things better. Yes.
Yeah. Generic villain name 3. I'm mid boss. So anyway, you will one of your groups that is working on this and kind of in the outskirts. Again, remember that these wrong are kind of like incorporeal. They are mental constructs, and they encounter some of those infected people, and the infected people get up and just start walking that way. And it's like there's a message that goes out between all of your infected people, and they just start leaving. Everyone who is infected in your area starts leaving. And within a few days, those from the burn and the dough, that message seems to leap like wildfire, and all of those sick people begin to march to that northeastern corner, driven by some psychic voice, like whatever has happened to them medically has made them super susceptible to some kind of mental or emotional control. And while it doesn't give you guys a need, there are a lot of those sick people. And a lot of those sick people gathering there in the north. Does that sound okay?
You mean looking like Jane and John Doe?
Some of them, yes. Some of them from the burn, some of there, and some of them from the other factions where people have had ill people. Other people aren't getting infected, but all those who have been infected are moving to amass in a swarm to the northeast.
So that would be a lot of my people.
Yes.
Here's a question.
Yes.
Are the Heraldsters at all aware of this?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When your ill people begin to get up and move and leave for the northeast, yes.
That was my question. Do we have ill people? Yes.
Oh yeah, everybody had them. Yeah.
Okay.
But my family would have had more than most, because we started the investigation, and that was one of the, I'd made a bad roll, I think, and I ended up
with a lot of infected. Yeah.
I ended up needing recruits and needing medicine, and that was the result of it.
So that's what happens. Is there is that gathering of people over the next few weeks, and stragglers. People try to hold them back, and they won't fight, but whenever they're given the opportunity to leave, they leave. Sherry, let's come back to you on that happy note.
All right. So what it is that they're hearing is something beyond the world that we have worked in before. So now we have to look at, I don't know, something that would jam the signal, something that would resonate more strongly than what they're hearing now.
Okay. Now, we've established that with the sort of the research move, you could declare a fact about a faction or a family. So you could make a declaration about them and give yourself a data point.
Okay.
I'd ask you how you found it, and we can kind of describe that.
All right. So I don't have to roll for that. I just say.
No, it looks like it's a once per session you can do a declaration, which I kind of like. I like those kinds of moves.
Yeah, and I think that essentially what happens is that because inherently our faith is based on our our genetic bank that we keep, that we are always praying and going through the rituals that keep it safe, but also examining it under different circumstances to understand the world better. And one of the things that we found is that, and one of the reasons that we use the inoculations over there in the sky, is that there are areas within those networks of the skein that are growing up where everything is very nulled out. And then other places where there's a really like sort of at the genetic level sort of resonance that picks up. And so we go back into the skein to find what it is that sets up that resonance, to see if we can use that to at least get a reaction at that sort of lowest level as we understand it of the people. Does that make any sense?
Sure. I will add a detail onto that then.
Okay.
You get a data.
Okay, I'll take a data.
You will realize that the null zone there is in fact created by some of the resonance of the sort of the flesh outer bit and that bone and so on. And that it isn't like a kind of a passive just phenomena, that it is actually being created by that bone forest and that sort of growing up of the flesh plants and things there, because that whole thing is an organism that is growing up.
All right.
Does that give you some information?
It gives me some information about future, I guess, terrors and threats. But of course, my whole thing now is to use it defensively against what it is that's calling our people to the wrong. So, okay. So that's for someone else then to pick up and use, hopefully?
Sure.
So what was it that was determined? So the Marylands, how does it relate to the calling?
So there are null zones. There are things that are kind of stopping, that are kind of creating kind of psychic interference there. And it's being created by that sort of organism that is both the Marylands and then the fleshy bits. What do you call those? The skein. That whole thing is a singular organism, and like a defensive thing, it's creating that effect. So what about you, Desmond?
Actually, I think if we want to like follow the flow of researching this, I'm thinking the burn might be the next ones that are better to act.
Okay.
Unless you had something you wanted to have happen to me.
No. I'm wondering if at some point we want to maybe zoom in on someone, going out somewhere to do the research on this, to do some scenes of that, and go to the personal moves. I don't know if your character moves for your character Stephen are good for that kind of thing.
So my stats are definitely better for that kind of thing. However, my actual moves aren't necessarily. I have a deep knowledge that if it's a part of the glorious past, I can gain fleeting advantage and gain tech. So, but however, zooming in for a character move sounds fine. Which would be Malachi actually exploring?
Yeah, and then each other player would create a quick NPC to be accompanying you.
Okay.
Are you guys okay with us doing that Zoom? Because you're going to get stuff when he zooms back out.
Sure.
And if you want to bring your actual character on, you can do that, or we can do a quick NPC.
So if I'm not mistaken, you actually get something if you don't participate, right?
If you don't participate, you will get a free thing afterwards.
Okay.
If you do participate, you get to participate.
Wait, what? Okay. Okay. Well, I will certainly participate. Let's see here. I personally am good at, let's see here. I'm actually good at surviving, but so maybe I'll take a quick character, a burn quick character.
Okay. Let me quickly look at what those inheritance are. And you are the... Why do I not have that right there? Your family is the survivor family, Malachi?
Scavenger.
Scavenger.
Yeah. My playbook is Scavenger.
Playbook is Scavenger and Enclave there. Okay. In which case, Sherry, you get... let's do this. So your quick character, you pick a -1 and a +1 to stat. Everything else is 0. And that's for force, lore, steal, and sway. This is going to go the same for Chris and Maria if you want to do the quick characters.
Yeah.
And then
basically,
we'll get and then you'll get to pick either you can have a +1 to lore or to steal on top of that. And then you get to pick one of these cool things. You can have a radio rig where you can sense tech within a mile and track it down. You can have a pain box that causes a device that causes intense pain. You can have a survey drone where you can roll lore with wasteland survival. You can have a hot rod, an exceptionally fast vehicle that has the Swift tag. Or you can be educated. The first time you give somebody advice based on your knowledge of the past, you gain fleeting advantage acting on it.
Okay. Let's see here.
Can I have a character with the drones?
Okay. So you get your quick character with the drones, and you have to give them a name.
Flitter.
Flitter? Mm-hmm. Okay. Maria, what are you thinking?
I'll have the pain box.
Okay.
I mean, I was thinking of the flitters as well, but pain box, sure.
Okay. What I can kind of guess what the flitters look with the organic. What do you suppose the pain box look being organic?
It says intense pain in anyone within a few dozen liters. Deadly neurotoxins emitter.
Oh, okay. All right, got a neuro thing. Okay.
Yours is so much better. I was thinking a karaoke box.
And what do you want, Sherry?
I think, I want the educated. I want to be super awesome and old.
Okay.
I'm a burn, right?
Yeah.
Malachi, I'm older than you. I'm a codger's codger.
What's your codger's name? I've got Flitter.
Yeah, I think it has to be something like Veruca.
Okay. Veruca. And Maria, what's your quick character's name?
George.
George.
Just George.
Just George.
Oh, George Byrne.
George Byrne.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm just trying to. So we pick a role, right? Or no?
That's the inheritance that you get. There's no role picking. You just get an inheritance and you get those stats.
Oh, because in my quick character sheet, there's a role still. Maybe it's the new version.
Oh, you mean like the leader, agent,
Yeah,
rebel,
leader,
outsider?
agent.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, sorry. I was reading role something else. Yeah, so you get to let's look at those. So let's have reverse order then. Sherry, what do you want as the role?
This is awesome because I get to look at what they mean for the burn. See, it's like poking around in someone else's family. This is the awesomest.
So you have a choice of leader, agent, rebel, or outsider.
I know. Let's see here. I think agent? No.
Okay.
Wait. Yeah, I'll go with agent.
Okay. You get to say a narrow field that you're an expert in, like scavenging, diplomacy, or hunting. When you use those skills, you get to reveal a secret about the situation and get advantage acting on it.
Okay. I think I'm going to take scavenging for this situation.
Sure. When you die, you get to reveal the mission's final step. If the party does it, the mission succeeds.
Awesome.
So is that in the Enclave of Biclon lore playbook?
This is actually in the quick character sheet.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Crystal, you want outsider or something else? Because I'll take outsider if you don't.
Take outsider then.
Okay. I have strange abilities. Pick a stat. You can take 1 harm to roll with it with advantage. I'm gonna pick steal. Because
you're gonna pick which one?
Steal.
Okay. And you can just describe how side effects twist the area or your body. When you die, a terrible plague in energies plague the area.
So
those that brave the maelstrom.
Do we all have incentives to die? Is that what I'm gathering?
That seems to be the NPC death. Death seems to be Death Blossom. So there we go.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what role am I left with?
Well, you can pick one of the ones that's been established, or leader or rebel.
I'll be rebel.
Okay. When you break your family's code, roll steal. On a hit, they have higher priorities than punishing you. On a 10+, get fleeting advantage when you socialize with their rivals or enemies. When you die, your family finally respects your outlook.
Oh, that's lame.
Say a way they change in your honor.
I mean, mine kind of blows up, but and it's bad for everyone, but it's still blowing up, I guess.
So let me ask you this, Krista, what is your relationship to Malachi Byrne?
Flitter's his daughter.
Oh, okay. So this is Malachi's daughter. Okay. Maria, what's your relationship to Malachi? I think you might be muted.
We're both outsiders, so I'm guessing we're just old friends.
Old friends, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And finally, the old codger Veruca.
Yes.
What is your relationship to Malachi?
My relationship is is I'm the one who is essentially the one that fingered them as being the outsiders to among the burns. So I'm sort of the, what do you say? Yeah, I'm the instigator of that whole little situation. I don't want to go on this. I got sent on this.
Okay. Malachi, you are by default the leader of this expedition, this team of people. So where are we when we come and we zoom in on you and your attempts to find a real cure that doesn't sell your people down the river to these psychic enslavers in the Northeast, you know, or whatever. Where do we see you?
Yeah, so I think the camera zooms in at a point where we're actually, the Byrne family has sent people out through the trade routes, and this is sort of in desperation. Normally,
Okay.
there'd be more than a group of 4 sent out, you know, for normal trading. But in this case, these are fast-moving investigation kind of scouts looking for information on how to clear things out.
Here's a
Okay.
question. Do you take the leader role now because you are the leader of an expedition, or?
I think that's just the quick. Yeah, actually, yeah, it is. So he can do that changeover. Because
Okay.
what real role were you right before that?
I was the
Outsider.
outsider,
Okay.
which was where
Okay.
my hordes whispered to me. The leader, Mark, whenever I'm put in charge of a group, supplies and provisions, so long as I put food on the table, they'll follow my orders.
Okay. So mark that,
Okay.
which gives you an advance.
Okay, and what does that mean?
That means you get to take a new move.
Oh. I'll have to
Or
think about
increase your
that.
sway. Either increase your sway or get a new move.
Okay. So I think that, you know, this zooms in on us on a trade route. More specifically, I think it's a trade route going through the mountains.
Okay.
It's been established that the Byrne know the source of this malaise is in the mountains. That there's some kind of cache there, some kind of bunker there. So we've been sent to investigate that.
Okay. So tell me one thing about this journey into the mountains, the walk up here, Maria. What's been one serious obstacle in getting up there?
The Malays is still there.
Okay. So
Like, I mean, can we? Do we? And we still have to. Well, can we prevent it?
yeah, right now, and people are inoculated, so it's not a threat to,
okay.
to people right
Okay.
now.
Okay, then let me think about that.
Sure.
But if we're inoculated, does that mean, since it's spread by speaking anyway, does that mean as a precaution we might not speak when we're in the miasma?
I think we've established that people don't have to worry about once they're inoculated,
Cool.
they don't have to worry about that. Just to make that not a problem.
Maybe I'll lie to Flutter about that anyway, because she's very talkative.
Yeah.
I think the problem is that something about the miasma jams our stuff.
Okay. So you've had problems with the bioorganic tech and things and equipment and gear that you've brought along with you has been incredibly futzy. Like something about the memetics and stuff is scrambling its ability to think. Krista, what has been one thing that has made the journey easier for the group?
My drones.
Okay.
Because they're fantastic. They're fast.
Okay.
They have heat sensing, and we've been able to spot the miasma before it comes to us because I configured it to identify it early so we can go around it.
Okay. What do your drones look like?
They actually look like mop heads.
Okay.
Like spinning mop heads.
Spinning mop heads. Okay. big spinning, tangled, flying jellyfish drones. Okay.
Multicolored.
Multicolored. Okay. So you're not subtle.
No.
Okay. Just want to make sure on that. So what though, as you guys have come up and you're getting closer to the where you think this location of this vault is, Sherry, what's the problem that you see ahead on the path?
I think that essentially what we see is something that looks like that the earth has been ripped and not ripped, sliced and then set off, like there's a weird offset, and our all of our instruments are sort of very jaggy about it, as if there's some sort of discontinuity. We're pretty sure it might be an illusion, but what we're coming up on is some sort of anomaly or energy field that's coming out that's so weird that it's affecting our eyes as well as our instrumentation. And and there's a lot of buzz and energy around it.
Okay. So let's come to you then, Malachi. Malachi, this situation is ahead of you, and this now we're kind of onto the group. You've seen this anomaly. It's offset. It's blocking you need to head that way up. You've got the sort of the broken and sheer cliffs and mountains around. What do you guys want to do?
So I want to take some time to use my new move, which is Architectural Eye. When I take some time to plan out the exploration of a new rule, I roll plus Steel, and that gives me hold to then do things like forge a path or identify dangers and things like that.
Oh, well, let's have you roll that, because that sounds pretty sweet.
Yes. So let's see what that looks like. So if I'm not mistaken, at the family level, you spend tech to get advantage. At the character level, you spend data to get advantage. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Oh, as an amazing scavenger, is there a way that I can give him annoying advice that he's that will give him an advantage? I thought that was my thing.
Oh, let's see if there is a way that you can. This is so. Tell me what you know about the past that you're using to aid him. Actually, when he goes to work on this is his previous role, so we'll have him do the setup role, and when you go to do stuff, you can do your busybody role.
All right.
Okay.
All right. We'll do that. That makes sense.
So let's resolve that.
I got an 8.
Okay. What does that give you on that move?
That is a hold 2.
Great.
So your specific question setting up the scene was, how do we find a way in through this stuff? So I think
around. You haven't even seen the vault yet.
Okay.
There's this anomaly in the way.
So I think that would be forge a path.
Okay.
Which is normally force, but I can spend a point of hold to roll Steel instead.
Okay. And what is the fact about the past that you're using to do your actually, Sherry, to Malachi?
Actually, there's a well-known land bridge that is essentially you have to go down the mountain and come back around. So essentially that may get us around some portion of this, or at least into a different part.
Okay. So you may roll Steel, Malachi, and you may take advantage on that roll. What could go wrong?
That could go wrong. Let's see. That is I rolled a 5 plus 2 is a 7.
Okay. So you make the trip, but you have to pick 2 from the Forge the Path list.
Because we had to go down the mountain and back up, I think it took a lot longer than what was expected.
Okay.
And I think that whenever we cross this land bridge, the route was lost. So basically, once we crossed the bridge, it kind of collapsed and folded back into the valley.
Yeah, and by fold you mean it kind of slides down back in.
Oh, can I die? Can I be lost in the landslide?
Do you want to be lost in the landslide?
Yeah, because I can tell them a thing that they have to do, right? And then if they do it, they'll succeed.
Okay, certainly. Describe to me your death, and I'm going to ask for their reactions. What does it look like when you die? How does that happen?
Well, I think that I just have to be walking alongside of them and going, well, and then you're going to need to go over here, and essentially bossing them around, and then the earth kind of falls out from underneath me at that moment. Exactly. How is that?
Okay, there's a...
Yes. They'll miss me. They're
so yeah, the busybody they sent along with you, Malachi, has fallen to her death. But she did give you good information there. But you are now a little short-handed.
sorry. But essentially I have to say what they need to do in order to succeed.
Yes.
Right? And if they do it, so essentially there's a puzzle lock on the vault, and essentially it's already half solved. And the problem is that the other piece that's needed to essentially fit in was carried off and hidden because essentially the people who were going to go in sort of chickened out at the time, but they left instructions on how to solve getting into the vault. So they essentially took the third piece and hid it like under the rock by the door, like under the doormat.
Under the doormat. Okay.
Yep.
So you three will make your way up along the side of this cliff now.
Oh, wait. If you don't mind, I'd like to... I think that whenever Veruca is claimed by the landslide,
yes,
I think this is kind of a shock for Malachi. And I think that he takes Flitter aside, and the two of them hold a mourning ritual that is very similar to what you would hold for a family member, because they are family. And he considers Veruca, since they shared the kinship of both being outsiders, a family member. Oh, and I think part of this involves taking their stuff and assimilating it into yourself, sort of. So this is, maybe if she had any pets or critters or tech or anything like that, I think it now becomes part of the family.
Oh, like you whistle and the ones that are still alive will come up here to where you're at?
I think so.
Okay, I like that. That's cool. I like that very much. Since all three of you have these kind of clouds of critters that are a little more interactive, not implanted, but more symbiotic with you. So you will make your way up, and it is getting on, say, dusk. And up ahead, you will see the vault doors. It's cold up here, that sort of thin, cold, crisp air up here. You'll see the vault doors, but you will also see like a campfire. And you will see some people there. And they seem to have set up camp. The thing that will strike you is, like, at least one of them is a doe. The others look like maybe they're from different families. They're all dressed very differently, but all of them have this kind of nimbus in the sort of as the light hits down here, as the sort of the sun is setting. They have kind of a glowing nimbus around their heads. What do you want to do?
Who?
All three of you.
Yeah.
You're the ones trying to get to the vault.
Well, since I've had a lot of scene, I'll let the other two.
I have a paint box that is non-lethal, so I'll just throw it in the area, and hopefully it'll hit all of them. And
yeah, I was supposed to be the rebel.
Knock them unconscious so we can drag them back to base and investigate. Further.
Okay. So you want to take the pain box and essentially you want to move up, whip that in there. So we are fiercely assaulting.
All right. I have a 0 to that. Yay.
Yes. Roll with force.
I am still gonna fail this.
Yes.
So
That's right.
that is a 6, so yes, I am going to fail this.
Is there assistance?
You can.
Yeah. Let's see how assistance works in this. You can call for aid after failing a roll as well as you'd like. Say what another character nearby can do to boost. If the group agree, the helper says how they do it and rolls an appropriate stat. What do you think, Maria? Who can help you?
The rebel can be a distraction.
Do I need to be a distraction? What was the mistake? What happened?
Oh, well, she kind of exposed herself. She went out there and it did not get the pain box, did not nearly throw it as far as she needed to, or is not going to throw it nearly as far as she needed to, and she is out there exposed.
How about Flitter sends 2 of her drones, or maybe they're bigger drones actually, since we all sort of have nanobots anyway, to pick up the pain box and carry it closer to the camp.
That works.
Oh, okay. All right. So that seems like steal to me.
Oh, great. The thing I could have rolled.
Oh, so I have to roll steal?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Dun, dun, dun. I'll just roll whoever dice these are. And I got a 9.
Got a 9. Okay. So that becomes a 7 to 9 instead of a 6. Okay. So a 7 to 9, you get to choose one from the character list. You do scatter, but you'll hit them. So give me one from your character list, and then I will give you 2 from the GM list.
We get information since this is what this was
Perfect.
for.
So they're going to certainly leave something behind. I will say that you are going to take 2 harm. Essentially, as this goes out, one of them is scattering, and they will take a couple of as the neurotoxin sprays out. They fire their own Viper darts. Essentially, it's like these wasps that come out from the guns, and they hit into you, and then the stingers kind of break off and swell to open up the wound. So a couple of those hit you. And
I guess I have to eat Flicker as well, or Flitter, or whatever her name was, because
yes, you'll also take harm, Flitter. And that's something. And I think when they drop the neurotoxin, Flitter, your drones are caught in the spray. As that pain spray goes up and hits them, and they will shriek and shrivel and plop to the ground.
And maybe that's the damage I actually take. Maybe it's like the feedback.
Oh no, that's a second thing.
Oh
yeah, no, yeah, that happens, and that's probably, instead of getting shot, that's probably the feedback. Yes, yeah, that makes sense. Perfect sense.
Do we have any place to keep track of damage on the quick character sheet?
No, yes. You can just I didn't put a quick character sheet, but you can choose. They've essentially got 5 boxes.
There's drained, winded. Those severe harm is hurt, which is -1 to last stat. Mangled, -1 to every stat, and then the last one is dead.
Yeah.
So, if you don't mind, I'd like to step in for a second.
Sure,
I start going through my pockets where I see that. So, did Malachi also get stung?
No.
Okay. So I think that Malachi starts going through his pockets, and I have a move called Just Enough. I have some scrap or oddments or something, and I can count on finding, and one of the options is enough medicines and dressings to treat a wound.
Oh, okay.
So I think that I can, pull the stingers out, get a little bit of the poison, put some paste on it, put maybe a little leech on it or something, wrap it up, something like that.
Absolutely. So that'll heal one of the. We'll say that'll heal the wounds. From who do you heal? Do you heal your daughter, or do you heal your old friend?
I think I do one for each, right? So it only heals one of their wounds.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, doesn't it heal from the top down?
It depends, I think.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Here we're doing the quick stuff, and besides, but both the wounds they have will be the essentially the ones that don't do anything.
Yeah.
So these people took off in all directions when they got hit by that. Like something had clearly scrambled, and you're pretty sure that at least a couple of them probably run off a cliff or something when they got hit by that. And you're pretty sure that they were those people affected by the malaise being controlled by the psychic field of the wrong in a way that you hadn't seen before. But you can, from that and the other stuff that you discover here in the camp, you can get a piece of data. So where do you find the key? Where is it hidden away, the last piece of this puzzle box?
I think that. Go ahead.
No, go on.
No, go ahead. Okay, so I think that actually what we find is when we go inside this vault, there are creatures inside the vault, of course, or biotech, that kind of thing. And one of these creatures basically has the key inside of it. So we have to kill the creature and open it up. Okay. And I think that maybe this key, what we didn't know from Veruca's notes from before, was that the people who came here and partially solved this key, it was a long time ago. And these creatures passed this key down generation from generation. So whenever the older generation dies, they cut it open and then swallow the key themselves. Yeah.
All right, so you're able to get that out. You're able to open this door, and you're essentially able to go inside to this vault and find essentially this living computer that is generating these mimetic codes and things, and it is, a picture the brains from Star Trek that are in like the glass case with the glow inside of them, that kind of thing. And you have a really strong sense that this is probably associated with the wrong. Like maybe this is something they were looking for. So you want to use this to get the cure, right?
Yes.
Then you get to roll lore.
Okay. That is an 11.
Okay. Then you get to pick 3 from the Unleash Power list. Unleash Power.
There it is. Okay. So I think that this device does cure the sickness, of course.
Okay.
And it can be
out that a mimetic virus via the sort of psychic network that is sort of hidden around and will break that infection.
Yeah. I think actually maybe what it does to cure the malaise is it wipes out part of their memory. Ooh. So it wipes out part of their memory back to the point where they first heard the mimetic thing, and then we can inoculate them.
Oh my God. So you give them a sort of a psychic brainwash / lobotomy there, and okay.
But I mean, they've been zombies since, so
oh yeah.
And it can be used again. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think we avoid the device's side effects. So the one that I did not choose is it it doesn't rouse other devices in your environment. So
okay. You will have a sense that this has activated, when you use this to do that kind of large-scale broadcast, that it has definitely activated something associated with the wrong. While you may have taken away these physical constructs that they had, these bodies that they were able to control, you may have also given them access to some things they wanted.
okay, so I would actually like to use my last hold on the architectural eye.
Okay.
And one of those options is to find a way to make this ruin into a weapon.
Okay.
So I think that this ruin is linked in some way to the wrong that have been psychically kind of controlling, and somehow this malaise was kind of spread. And what's a good idea for how this link becomes a weapon? Does anyone have an idea?
The resonance. If you could kick up the resonance and use the Morrowlands in the sky to essentially radiate it.
Yeah. Sort of like a speaker?
Yeah, like a big bio speaker.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that between the three of us, we can scrounge together enough, biotech and critters and things like that to then basically to hit the others. And I think we leave it in place, but we don't set it off. We can set it off whenever it's an appropriate story time. We'll set it off whenever the family decides to.
Perfect. I love it. And we're going to cut from there. We're going to resolve the zoom out, and then we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back. So on the zoom out, each player whose main character wasn't involved gets to pick one of these things. I'll read through the list. You can decide. You found a new place in your family. You change your role. You went scavenging in the wasteland. You get to add 1 tech to your family's stock. You scouted for information. You get to describe a lead that might give you a new surplus or remove a need, and you get a data. You helped out another family or faction. You get a treaty on them. Or you discovered a new danger because we don't have enough of them. Maria, what do you think?
The Painless was doing research on the different.
Okay.
And she was thinking of maybe using them as transport.
Okay. So
basically taming them, a way to tame them and use them for transport.
Okay. So at least being able to get some of them to do that. Maybe it wouldn't eliminate the threat, but it would at least give you access to some really effing cool beasts to ride, right?
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. And take 1 data. Christo, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that I scouted for information, describe a lead that might give you a new surplus, or remove a need and get 1 data.
Okay.
Oh, so it's a lead. It's not the actual thing.
That is correct. Essentially, on your next thing, we'll have you do the action if you want to do that, because you and Maria still have to go on sort of this go round.
Mm-hmm.
I'll come back to you two first.
Oh, so I don't mark the data yet, or?
Oh, you get the data, and you have that lead, and we'll
Oh, okay.
And then if you want to act on it to get that, we'll play out that scene.
All right.
Oh, I don't like that laugh. Or well, maybe I do.
I'm playing the spider, right? So yeah. I'll say we discovered a new danger. And so the danger we'll have discovered is that when activating the Morrowlands, like resonating off of them, I think we woke it up.
Okay. Like it's growing faster?
Or just moving. Can you just picture like this blob of flesh and bone rolling across the landscape?
I couldn't until now, so thank you for that one.
There you go.
Okay. And what about Jane Doe? What do you want from that list?
Let's see here. I think that during the time that this was going on, we probably would have. Isn't there one that you can take some more treaty on another family?
Yep.
I think I'll take some more treaty on the swords.
Okay.
Essentially, because we helped them inoculate, and they did not assist in the process otherwise.
Okay.
So they owe us.
That makes sense. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we're going to come back, and we'll do. We've got Christo and Maria that I definitely want to get their scenes from this go round, and they've got some cool stuff to do on the table, so we will play that out. So take 5.
Hello. Testing.
I can hear you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can hear you also. No problem.
Yeah, my computer decided to shit itself again. So it's restarting now. Sorry.
It's a good time. We're taking a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
I know, right? All right. Let me
What was that deep sigh about?
I have an unfortunate surplus of Halloween candy.
We're not even at Halloween yet. How can you have a surplus?
This is all just a potential surplus. Trickle down economics.
One of the last house I lived in, I was in this podunk town. Well, that's not fair, but it was in this little town, and they had I'll call it mandatory Halloween in the sense that they decided that Halloween is on Wednesday this year, Wednesday the 29th.
Oh,
yeah. I always thought that's ridiculous, and it's from 6 to 8. I thought that sort of defeats the purpose of it. Okay. And then I asked my neighbor, so how does this work? And she said, oh, you need to buy a lot of candy. I said, well, what do you mean by a lot? I don't know, 10, 15 pounds. I said, you're kidding, right? She said, you have no idea how many kids are going to swarm this place. They bring them in from other cities. And it was literally, do you know the ET scene where they've got the neighborhood scene where everybody's up in costume? Oh, yeah. And so there are all these people, there's hordes of people in the neighborhood. That's what it was. She said, oh, and don't even bother going inside. Just stay on your porch, open a beer or something like that, because you are not going to have time. You're not going to be able to get in your door. And that's what it was like. So, I mean, that little city that's the one thing they really did well. They did Halloween.
Wow. We maybe have 200 kids by count. That's on a good year.
That's still a lot.
Yeah. Sometimes it goes down. It depends on the weather, of course. One year they had we had to have it bumped, Halloween bumped, because they had a Notre Dame football game, and so they had to do it. And another year they had to delay it an hour because George Bush was coming through town. So
they delayed Halloween by an hour because George Bush was coming through town.
Yeah.
Did I hear you say you get 200 kids at Halloween at your house?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
We're a residential neighborhood. We're Midwest. Everybody lives pretty close together, and there's a lot of like walk around area. We're not in the suburbs. We're actually like close to downtown, but it's middle class, Midwest.
So I live in the middle of town, middle of Austin.
Hello.
And we have a couple of schools. Hi.
Hey.
We have a couple of schools near us. However, there is the area of town that I live in, there's a lot of retired people who live around me. So we see very few families that come through. Yeah.
We have a lot of kids, a lot of families in the area. And it's also because it's nicely distributed. It's very easy to get around and walk around because we have sidewalks as opposed to suburbs and things. So people will come here because it's easy and safe to get around.
Yeah, we don't have the 1 acre yards or anything like that. We've got, 8 feet on each side of the house kind of thing. So
sidewalks, that kind of stuff. It's all good. I love kids too. Love doing that. So
I love other people's kids.
That's exactly what I'm about to say. Other people's children are awesome.
That's been my line for years.
That's the same thing I say about animals.
Wait, don't you have kids, Christo?
I mean, they're kind of not. They're kind of not that great as far as we know.
That's one.
Oh, that's one. Okay, never
well,
mind
2. But
so yeah, it's kind of still other people's children.
All right, so we've a solution has been reached to the problem of the malaise and the hunger on 2 halves, both the inoculation to prevent future outbreaks and now the curing of those who have been infected. They will slowly return to
dogs back. Sorry,
Pardon?
I had to re-enter the chat, so I don't have the link.
Yes. Let me grab that for you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
That's what happens when your computer poops out.
Okay, I lost what I was saying. So, Christo, let's come to you because we had done. You were nice enough to let Stephen go first on this sort of go around. So let's come back to you. You found out this horrible information about this threat. How did your group find this out? What did they see? What did they discover?
Well, we've just got webs everywhere, right? I'm dispersed, so I've got people everywhere. Of course, we don't really know how we communicate, but we seem to do it very well and very quickly. And so they discovered right at the same time that this cure was released, and then the attack on the different. Are they the different or the other? They're the different, aren't they?
No, they're not the different or the other. They're the
wrong.
The wrong.
Sorry.
Can we call the different the Beatles?
Okay,
yeah, we just call them Yomu at this point, since that's what they basically are.
The what?
From Nausicaa.
I couldn't remember their names.
Don't have that reference. Okay.
They're basically Yomu, so.
Big metal.
The big metal beetle
things.
things. Okay.
The big metal beetle things.
So they so my people saw the Morrowlands waking up. And I'll say we lost several people to that when it woke up, because it moves a lot faster than you think. That said, the second part of the character choice I made at the end of it was I get to choose who the threat actually affects.
Okay.
Any volunteers?
The Hellswords, because we kind of need more threats, I guess. No. We're gonna use the Beatles, and we're gonna ride on the Beatles to fight this giant forest. That would be amazing, honestly.
Okay, yeah, that works actually. So let's say it is a threat to the Hellswords.
So the Hellswords have moved their military force to the south to deal with the lawgivers, and they've encountered this beetle threat that they're going to hopefully peel some off of. Even as in their heartlands where the villages are, suddenly there is this giant organic forest that is beginning to push in.
And we can say that it's actually, so my people, what they did was they actually lured it this way.
Because Desmond has a thing against the Hellswords for some reason.
Because you were taking over all the territory.
We were taking over the territory that wasn't even in your land. We were taking the lawgivers' territory.
How did you know I didn't want it?
You would have to go through us to begin with.
So what is the family's action now? Now that this threat has been created, what is your family action now?
Oh, so what is my family doing? Probably they're changing their dance to a lot of black and a lot of veil and sort of trower, fugue, slow motion, requiems. Wondrous and beautiful things.
And what is there any action that you want to take?
So what kind of action can I take?
You could uncover secrets. You can spend a data and add something to the map. A new resource, a powder keg, a place to shelter from harm, or a barrier that impedes travel.
Oh, I want to say, so what was it? I could put something new on the landscape or something, or a place, a sanctuary of some sort, right?
Mm-hmm. Powder keg, place to shelter, barrier that impedes travel are the sort of basic choices that are under uncover secrets.
I'll say we get a resource. I'll say that underneath this monstrosity, we found a great resource. So from what it was doing, maybe it was pulling up metal, which we don't usually use that much. So I'm not sure how valuable that would be. That's not really one of our resources, is it? What would be a scarcity?
I mean, the beetles like the metal, so. But do you know that?
I don't think he knows that yet. I think that's
okay.
the beetles sort of in your landscape.
Okay.
How about it's just a sort of like a medicine underneath her. It's sort of like whatever they're leaving behind is sort of medicinal.
Like there is sort of the bionutrients that have fed this thing great like underground reservoirs of that you haven't tapped into it, but you know it's there.
Well, maybe they will be monstrosity babies. Maybe we'll eat it as medicine, and that's just going to be the end of all of us.
No. We raise the monstrosity babies, and then we ride them into battle, like what I'm gonna do with the beetles.
Why is everything
monster babies versus
monster babies versus giant beetle monsters made of metal? Yes, I need this in my life now. Please make it happen, Lowell.
So tell me. The Hell Swords want to.
Okay, so I guess the one that I'm aiming for is Total War at this point, because I have 2 of the 3 objectives. I have weaponry and leadership. I need morale, transports, and recruits. And recruits is actually a need I have. So I'm gonna mark off leadership and weaponry.
Okay. So what we would do is you would mark that off, and you would the way I would do it is I would allow you to do one of those per session, because it's a long-term thing, because it needs to be put out there so that players could react to that. So tell me, in that case, you're going to erase one of the surpluses. How is that surplus going towards your Total War here?
Which one? I'm guessing.
I don't know. Which one do you want to do?
Leadership is going into that because.
Okay. How is that being spent? What kind of preparations are being done? How are they taken out of the picture to go and prepare for a Total War wonder?
I'm thinking the Painless is now getting ready to getting her mindset into this Total War thing, and that's why the leadership is less like a surplus for the family and more a surplus for the Total War.
Okay, that
so
they are
the
dragged.
Leader, so
okay, so they're back doing that. Okay, so I'm going to say
negative 2.
Yeah, so that's one thing that you have towards that. Now let's go back and look at the move. You want to have some of your people go and capture some of these beetles to use as transport. So this is a risky thing you're doing to claim a resource. Does that seem right?
That is fair enough.
Okay, so this is going to be a claim by force move for you.
Yay, grasp. I have a 3 grasp.
Yes, you do. There's almost no chance that you could screw this up.
I could screw this up. What the hell are you talking about?
Can we interfere? Can I interfere?
I don't think there's an interfere move.
This is a 9. Let's see if I have tech to spend.
Do you have a tech?
Yes, I do.
All right. Roll one more die.
1. Oh,
hey,
yes,
look
is
at
a 13.
That. All right. So you have to commit. You have to choose one of those results, but you will gain the surplus transport.
Yay.
Tell me, I need you to tell me how your people are able to capture and make some of these into mounts.
Yeah, basically, so the thing that I choose is that I need to commit to securing it, I guess. Or do I have to pick another surplus in addition to the transport to tie it in?
So you would get to transport as a surplus, and then you would need to commit more assets to that. So yeah, you would have to tie another one of your surpluses to it.
All right, never mind. Let's see. There's. I guess I will hurt somebody, but so, and the GM will say who. So can you just name a faction or someone who's in the area? Because who's in the south other than me and the giant beetle things?
I will say that the people that come in that are in the area that are kind of moving is actually people from the Deathless Legion.
Oh,
that have been looking around and have been exploring and looking to establish ties, and you end up driving some of these beetles into their area.
Yeah, and they're the Deathless Legion, so might as well wreck them while we're at it.
Yeah, and essentially these were diplomatic missions to your place, so they get to treaty on you as a result.
All right.
But it doesn't matter because you got iridescent metal beetles to fly.
Yeah, of course. That's all that matters.
Okay. So I think I kind of maybe want to go to maybe a statement of epilogue here. I think we're kind of at that point. I think another once around is going to maybe get a little more complicated here on this. I'd like to kind of go and maybe describe your aims for your family in general, and we'll kind of talk about that and how you see your character fitting into that. So you've kind of described already, Maria, kind of what your family's goal is. What would be the next stage of your family's preparations to cause this total war?
Well, we have weaponry and transports, and leadership is already committed. We need recruits twice, and we need morale. So our next goal is, I guess, getting the lawgivers settlements, which we do have one treaty on them to give recruits, and then have recruits from the vassal villages paying tribute. So there's recruits there on both ends, and then there's
periods of consolidation.
Yeah.
Of gathering those forces together. And if we were to kind of do a montage, what will we see of Painless in that montage, that last shot montage?
Well, if this does succeed, she will be riding the metal beetle into battle against the literal Marrowlands and anything else that crosses her path.
Okay. And let's come to you, Stephen. What do you imagine? What do you picture the vision for the burn going forward?
Yeah, so I think that going forward, I think we see this, war has kind of come to the land one way or another. And I think that the wrong that have been, manipulating people kind of cyclically, this is a kind of tech that we're not familiar with. They've been making other encroaches into the land. So people, they've infiltrated each of the families. They've, they're really messing around behind the scenes. And I think that, maybe the families are kind of losing the war and things are looking really bad. And then some member of the burn is, digging through something like some old family camp or something like that. And they find this weird device where they hit the button, the weapon that we set up goes off and turns the tide against the wronged.
Excellent. Yeah. And we're in our montage shots of Malachi burn in all of this. What do we see?
Oh, Malachi burn. Actually, I think that Malachi burn was a casualty of this war event, and maybe it was his daughter that came across this button or this device. Yeah.
I like that. I like that we get to bring that quick character up as a potential second generation thing. I like that. That's very cool.
Wait, so you're saying that Flitter said, "What does this button do?" and pushed it?
No, I think that I think she kind of found it and went, "Oh, hey, I remember this."
Awesome. Christo, what about the spider? Now that you've set this great bio war into motion, what do you think is the goals or the purpose, the ambition of the Fool's Mirror now?
Now we are the chroniclers, those that we capture and preserve all of the history that is happening and all of the heroes. So that's, we've now got a resource that we can sell, and I bring all my people back together, most of them, not all of them.
Okay.
And we put up a beautiful theater and train. We have a school of training, so we're no longer so nomadic, which gives us some stability. And we go around and we play out the histories, as we call them.
Excellent. And what is our montage shot here of the spider in all of this?
He's getting more old and decrepit. He walks with a cane, and but he still has his games always going on with his petty little games.
So maybe we'll see that sort of Julius Caesar style, people moving in to assassinate, and then his own counter plans come in and they're eliminated, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's like
just the sound of his cane tapping along,
or he's tapping along, or like he'll suddenly spin around and knock the feet out from under them and say, "Next time."
Awesome. Sherry, what about your faithful, the doe? What is your ambition, O muted one?
I think what you see is a montage, and it's still Jane, but she's going back further and further, looking more like she's getting closer to the origin of doe, whereas the other ones always, they start further away and then they go. But if you're doe and you raise up in the thing, your genetic code gets closer to the original human code. And she's always traveling with her 3 companions, and you'll see her in all of the aftermath of the big fights or the gore and horror of the Morrowlands. There's always the doe there healing people, and they of course take on that initial look of the doe, and they let them go back to their families knowing that they'll return. And I think one of the things that you see is like one of the John Does just happens to be wearing one of the particular trinkets that Malachi liked particularly. And eventually there's one of the Janes has a sword very much like Painless's. And even in the end, Desmond with his plots and you realize that those are her 3 companions that she's still
around with.
And that is that thing that they do.
Oh my God. No, but imagine Lee, just a charred John Doe.
Yeah. Exactly, but
I love it. And probably Veruca.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Veruca, who fell into a ravine. Yes.
Awesome. I think that's where I want to stop with this. And I do want to do Roses and Thorns to talk about this. Of course, this is in beta. It's in process. It's in flux. When we started this out, we were in a 1.5, and then we went to 1.6, and there's some other changes that have gone along, which I have a hard time kind of tracking that, going back to PDF and stuff. Let me talk about a couple of things. Let me say, I'm going to start with Thorns. I'm going to start with myself. That meant I didn't have as much control over the system. I mean, I never have control over the system, but because I try to keep that pretty minimal to not learn everything when I go to run, because I'm just running a couple of sessions. But here, because a lot of moving parts on multiple levels, and I felt like I missed some beats there. 2, if I were to go do this again, I would find a better way to handle the quick characters. Like maybe start people out with one sheet that would have, okay, here's my quick character for Maria's, here's my quick character for Chris's, here's my quick character for Sherry's, and have that more easily, so because there's that weird stop off there that I'm not entirely certain about. I think I would need to put that together in one easier to work place, especially if we were playing long term. 3, I'm really bothered by the lack of a question move at the family level. They have that gear move where you can do a declaration and get data, but I really like moves that allow you to like research or do stuff and then ask questions, and through that conversation about questions, develop things. And there's some of that at the character level, but it's very minimal. I mean, actually, I don't even now that I look at it, there isn't one at the character level. That's one of my favorite moves. I love moves that ask questions and that the player and the GM can go back and forth and come up with answers. I think you get interesting results out of that. It may not work for this, but for me, because that is something I really love about PbtA, I felt that absence very keenly. So that's my thorns. Stephen, thorns? This can be about the game, the system, the play, my running of it. Any of those, feel free.
Okay, so I have a few things that I'm trying to remember from last session. So basically, I think the last time we talked about thorns, part of it was it seems like it's got too much stuff going on. I think in the last session I specifically noticed that it seemed like there were too many things to keep track of. Like there's data and there's tech, there's surplus and there's needs. They then form a mood. There's things that you spend, there's stats. It just seems like there's too many things to keep track of. And I'd like to see some of those combined, like data and tech combined into one. So you use the same thing at the family level and the character level, or just simplification. Okay. I also think that this game would really, I think that it would really help if creating a character playbook and creating a family playbook was a lot of overhead. I think it would help a lot if, in the book it described your first session is creating the world and a family. And you don't even mess with the character playbook. And then the second session is where you're going to do your first zoom in, you create the character, because you have this established world. Almost make a twin game where you have you start with one thing and then eventually you twin off into a second style of the same game, and then they intermix from then on. I'd like to see that.
That's really, really interesting idea. And it hadn't occurred to me at all.
One other thing that I saw was I noticed it this session and last session, because we were doing a lot of family moves. I felt a lack of family moves. I was trying to get prompts from the moves about the kinds of things I could do, and I could describe narratively what I wanted to do or what the direction my family might go. But if I was at a loss, I will often look at the moves as a guidepost. What should I do next? And I noticed that whenever I looked at them, it seemed like I wanted there to be more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I have something of the same reaction. Maria, thorns?
Let me start that. I agree with Steven on having the family and the character creation be separate, especially because you'll be changing characters. Like you have to have the mentality that, okay, this character is, even though it's not entirely disposable, it kind of is. So you don't have, there's, it should start being zoomed out rather than zoomed in, I think.
You're almost saying, and I think this is brilliant. It hadn't occurred to me that maybe everything needs to be quick characters.
Not entirely. It's more like the family, like start zoomed out, and then when we need to do something really zoomed in with with the intricacies, then you make the characters, like Steven was saying. Like I personally think that that character creation is, or character creation, not family creation. Character creation is simple enough, but it also takes a little while. But that's just me, and because I tend to grasp systems pretty quickly.
So that's why I actually thought it would be better if there was a formulaic, world creation and family creation session, and you don't even start anything else, and then the second session is a character creation, and you actually have that, specifically formulated in the book, sort of.
Yeah.
Hard
sell.
That makes sense. The other things, what was the other thing that Steven said that I think I wanted to mention? I forget.
Tiles.
Too much stuff. Consolidation of things.
Oh, right. The moves. The family moves. I think there should be a hard move, or not hard move, but like a solid move saying when you want to get a resource, you do this. Because there's nowhere in the book do I see, oh, here's how to get a resource other than the turning of ages, and some other moves as consequences of like a 10+, which is like, oh, okay. And thorns for the session itself, I felt like the Hell Swords had nothing to do because they had nothing to do with the meme plot and the melees, so they were doing their own thing. And when it came to my turn, I just said, well, we find these things and now we have to deal with them, and that was literally my turn. So that's a bit on me for not being interested in the melees, and kind of fictionally as well, not being interested in the melees. Like, I don't see the Hell Swords being part of it.
It's hard because I put the violent threat for the first session. And so and that worked really well, but that meant that putting the more abstract threats on the table meant that the people who had sat out the first game got to do stuff, and vice versa. So that's always hard. I agree with
that makes sense.
Maria, in the new playbook, well, in the new sheet I'm looking at anyway, it does have a move for getting resources. It's called Call on a Debt. So if you have a treaty, and I actually used this, I don't remember if it was the same thing in the first version we were using, but it says when you call in an obligation on another family has to use, spend 1 treaty and choose 1. Gain +2 on a move that targets them, take a surplus from them.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
We were doing that, yeah.
Yeah, we were doing that.
But
so that's
for that, you'd have to have surpluses on the table already that are different as well.
We all did, though.
Yeah, true.
It's a PvP move is the thing that is. The price there is that there's
Yeah, I would say there needs to be some sort of way of getting resources hard-coded into the game that isn't player versus player.
I actually have to disagree with that, though, because I think well, I don't want to disagree, but I would guess, and I may be wrong on this, James, who may be watching this, I have the sense that he probably has that coded in there so that we do have to go at each other, so that we do have to interact. That's not my favorite style of play. In fact, that's kind of, I don't dig that much. If I've been playing like you guys, I don't want to go and steal surpluses from other people. That's not what I want to be doing.
And see, one of the things I struggled with that move was I always pictured it fictionally as kind of sharing. I have a surplus, so I'm going to give my surplus to someone else. And it only became PvP if the person didn't like that, and then they negated it with their treaty. So I guess the only place, I guess you're right if I have treaty on someone and they don't have treaty on me, because then you're forcing the issue.
Yeah.
And there's not a choice. Okay.
Well, you have a choice. It's called hold together.
Which is not a great choice. That move sucks.
Oh yeah, it sucks.
You do not want to be rolling that.
It does suck.
But
even
if you do well, you get morale. So.
But Steven.
Yeah, but
Sorry.
Steven, you do have the option of not stealing and sharing. Flush with resources If mood would hit +4, erase the surplus and pick 1. Sell off the excess surplus for 1 tech, gift the excess to your allies, and gain advantage with reach until the end of this age. So it is in here. That you can do it without being PvP. You're not going to get something from them for that, but you could start the by giving them something good and hope for a positive response.
Okay.
Yeah. Take a real calculation to get yourself up to mood 3. That'd be really hard.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, part
Christo,
of.
you're.
Yeah.
Sorry. Christo, your thorns.
Well, I like the new playbook. We still have to dig through it, but I like what I'm seeing. I think it better. I think it is talking to a lot more of what we were looking for. I struggle with playing 2 playbooks, I think is what I was struggling with most of all. The going macro and mine, I like the idea of starting off with the family also, but I also recognize that this was designed that you don't have complete moves without having both the family and the character playbook. So you're going to have to do the macro and micro. And the examples that I didn't get all the way through the book, but the examples I saw in the book was showing that you start off macro and then you go micro when you get to like a conclusion, I guess, or a final event or something interesting. So I could see that, but I struggled going back and forth with the family myself. So that was just my struggle. I'm not blaming it on the system. I think it's just a system that takes a while to get used to.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Sherry? Muted.
So I think one of the things that I agree with Christo, the 2 playbooks have that thing where you're switching back and forth, which is made worse by the fact that we're doing it online. What would be pretty simple at the table becomes sort of painful online, because you're like, oh, which one am I at, and that sort of thing. And that's just the whole thing of not having that physical space to put things in and mark them easily and keep them sort of, just within your peripheral vision. But I think that it's an odd game. There's so many pieces that feel like strategic pieces, and yet it doesn't have the strategic pieces that that I would usually anchor that on. So, essentially, if you've got all of these families, my whole thing is like, well, why didn't we lay down like resources, and then you claim I start here, and those are some of the surplus that you start with. And then as you essentially you put things on the map, those opportunities, that's a thing that then that's what you're playing through, is churning opportunities into surpluses for your family. And maybe different kinds of surpluses from the same opportunities. I don't know. But anyway, that's just me. I think in some ways there's enough of a really intriguing idea here that I keep wanting to fiddle with it. So maybe that's my thing, is that it's sort of one of those, it's getting close to the things I want, so I'm fussing there. But does that make any sense? This game makes me want to fiddle with things.
Yes. And that's what I meant by, like, just as simple a move as when you exploit an opportunity or resource, you get a surplus related to it. That's as simple as that for what I was saying. It's not a complex move. I think there just needs to be a move that says that, so it's absolutely clear to everyone that you can do that. But I don't know James's intent. So
well, and I don't know how that balances with the thing. Certainly, you were able to generate some resources and move pretty quick towards the wonders. But I don't know how we. I don't know. I've run 4 sessions, and I'm still uncertain about that. The surplus needs resources thing. I think we're all hitting that. But I'll tell you what I like, because I'm going to do that with roses now. Because I want this. I really like the idea of this game. And I've always loved multi-level games. I've always had an easier time with games where, like, you're all from one family, but you're working at the 2 different scales, and things. That really, like, conceptually, the ideas that are expressed in the families, and I really like the ideas that are expressed in the character playbooks. I think those are great. And I think the fiction that we got out of those and the landscape that we drew and the bits and pieces we put together, I really dug. And I think that that's both having imaginative, strong players, but also I think that the playbooks and the conceptions that are put out there on the table, those conceits really, really helped that and definitely drove some cool stuff. Stephen, Roses?
Yeah.
If any?
Yeah, I've got a couple. Just like you, I was very excited about this game. I've been looking forward to it for a while. And I like the idea of having a family playbook and a character playbook. And, whenever your character dies, something happens to the family, and then you build a new character and all of that. That was one of the things I was really looking forward to. And then maybe it was just because it was this session, but kind of where the game started to sing for me is this zooming in and out. Whenever we zoomed in this during this session, I really, really loved that, telling that little story. And I'm going to disagree with you, Lowell. I liked the quick character creation, the real quick, let's build up a little, you get one move and just pick this real quick, and here's your stats, and everybody picked a name. And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. And I want to clarify. I love that. I need it to be a little more organized, like on one sheet, so it'd be easier to do that. So I wouldn't hesitate to do it because I love that process. So
yeah.
Sorry.
And that's actually something I like from other games, is the quick creation for flashbacks or something like that, so that everyone can participate. That was really good for me. And then the other thing is that the other rose that I have is about wonders. So I didn't really know what those were. I looked through the 1E book, didn't see them. Looked through the 2E or the 1.6 PDF, and I was like, oh, there they are. And just like you said, the trials and fortunes and the descriptions and all that, that's amazing and good fodder for, good story points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For big stuff. For multiple session, big stuff, build up things.
Exactly. So I can see, I now have a better image of what this game is, where you start out at a family level, and then you have a character level playbook, and then you zoom back in and out, and over time you create these wonders and get the, and you're working towards these bonuses, this long-term kind of thing. I like that.
Yeah. And I appreciate Maria keeping her eyes on that. So,
Thank you.
Maria, Roses?
Well, first of all, I think this is not a thorn. I'm just saying I think this is a game that really benefits from more than 4 sessions, first of all.
Yeah.
So, and I forgot to mention that. And Roses, I love the flexibility of it, of how you can have literally giant beetles in this fighting a giant bone forest monster. And yeah, that's really cool. And it's still perfectly in the scope of the game. Apart from that, I do enjoy, like, I can't say much because again, I don't want to brag, but I kind of do understand the rules a bit more than some. But for example, the wonder rules, they're pretty simple as far as I know. They, like, if you think about it more, it's like you spend your 5 resources, and then you have the wonder, and then everyone else rolls on the table and sees what happens.
I agree with you that they're simple.
Yeah, it seems there's a lot of simple things in the game, which can be good. It's good that the mechanics themselves, the moving parts themselves, aren't complicated, because that's when you get a game that doesn't work well. Because it's just, I like that it's just a bunch of simple things, and that just works.
Christo?
And you're muted.
I liked the I like the playbooks. I love the art in the book in general.
Oh yeah, the art.
Yeah, the art to me is fantastic. It really like hits it well. You know, both being vibrant and yet post-apocalyptic. And so what else did I really like? I really like Sherry's characters and her family. I thought that was brilliant.
Oh yeah.
And I like the idea of the moving in and out. I think for me, I think I need to see if there's a good AP on it from another group, or maybe if James ran it.
I think James ran it at one point. It's just I don't know where to find that.
That's the thing, is because sometimes it helps for me to see how the designer envisioned it, and how other players are like taking advantage of it. Because I was realizing I was looking at the family moves, and I was thinking, and again, this comes from me flipping back between character and family sheets. I'm looking, I'm thinking, I didn't even hit that move on my family once, and I guess it was because I was going from sort of the approach of fiction first. So I'm thinking what my family wants to do instead of looking at the moves and trying to play into them.
Mm-hmm.
So I missed the opportunity to play some of those moves and actually have them come to fruition.
Yeah, you do have some interesting moves in there, definitely.
Yeah.
And part of it, I think, is also that, for example, I forgot about this thorn again. It's the always a number, never a gun move. Seems to be like more of a zoom in move, but it's in the family playbook, so it's odd that way for me, because it mentions the battlefield, but the only way you would do that as a family would be claiming by force, and yet it's not a claim by force move, and it feels like it should be a character move rather than a family move, is what I'm saying.
Anything else, Chris?
No, I don't think so. This game it's left me puzzled. I get, which is not a bad thing. I'm just thinking,
right.
I feel like I'm not connecting the different parts, that it's got enough moving parts. And I think part of my problem was it was coming at it as a Powered by the Apocalypse game. So I was sort of biased in looking for certain things. And even though it is, I think I needed to step back a little bit and take it as something different. And then that would have probably flowed
more like
better
a microscope game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So
chronological order.
It's got me intrigued. It's a game I'm going to be thinking about.
Sherry, get last word on Roses.
And here's the thing: is it's a game I'm going to be thinking about. So now I did a thing that I don't usually do. Usually I go and I read the book and I'm like studying up, and I've got, because I come from a fine long tradition of optimization and all that stuff. But I'm like, nope, I'm going to go into this, I'm going to be that player, the one who hasn't read their rule book, the one that goes every time they need to do so. Okay, so I was that person, and I kind of regret it, because I think that if I had read the Wonders and all of that stuff, I might have been gunning for that from the get-go, or those kinds of things. Instead, I just decided to kind of live in the place and see what I stumbled over. And it's that with each session, I was getting more pieces together, and I could see how you could get it running. And so it's like I'm going, okay, yeah, if we did this, I might have tried this. I might have pushed on these moves instead. Some of the thing with the family moves and stuff, you're always going to go, oh, well, I would conceive of a faith, family having different moves like this or something. But, there's probably a reason that they are those ways. So I need to lean into that. But that is essentially me bringing a set of biases that I have again to the thing, instead of leaning into what's here. But like, I keep thinking about it, and I keep going, oh, well, we try this, and I definitely want to do that when I'm in there. And of course, the other thing is that y'all were really amusing to play with crazy ideas. So thank you. And it did work. It just worked. Even when even when it was a giant landscape-sized, giant ball of flesh and bone. So there you go.
Yeah, I want to comment on that. I think if I were to run this again, one of the things is that putting those wonders as a forward thing, because I mean the way it works in the play is a player commits a resource. That's a thing they do. They establish that as a fact for their family, and they've got to do this 5 times. They put it out there, and then we move on, and the other players get a chance to react to that or do their own thing. So it's not like a player can just go, I go boom, 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 do this. And so it builds a set of fiction and possible responses, and it might create a dynamic here. But of course, because I didn't see those as a central thing in the previous edition, and because I was so focused on getting the family playbooks and stuff like that, and already a lot of parts to keep in mind, I mentally, as a GM, I went, okay, this is probably not something we're going to get to. Now I see that you might not need it, but it would be, for me, a useful thing to frame with, and I would probably do that again differently. So thank you guys very much. Oh,
I was gonna say, trying to do this real quick, but yeah, I think wonders should be more upfront, and like it seems like they're kind of sidelined at in general.
It's one page in the first, it's like on page 40, and then it's all the way in chapter 250 at the back.
Yeah, it really, especially if you want to do the resource game, you really need to focus on wonders.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I wanted to say.
No, absolutely. Thank you guys very much. I love games that do this kind of crazy, wide, spiraling stuff. I love Kingdom. I love Microscope. When I ran that Reign of Crows game, which was at that sort of Game of Thrones scale. I like this. I can't wait to see what their final version of this looks like, and I can't wait to see all of the other additional versions that are coming out with the Kickstarter. I have no regrets backing it whole hog, which I did. I backed it all.
Same. Kind of same.
I will not regret it. And I'm looking forward to it.
Rhapsody of Blood, yay!
Yay! Thank you guys very, very much. Much appreciated. I am going to stop the broadcast.